I never understood how panic could be quiet until that morning in the valley. It wasn't yelling or sirens that stopped me cold. It was the sharp metallic snap of a chain pulled tight, the sound of access being taken away. When I rounded the bend and saw the bridge, my stomach dropped. A brand new padlock gleamed in the sun. Yellow warning tape fluttered against the rails. Someone had taped up a laminated notice like it was official, like it was final. Emergency closure by order of the HOA. People were already gathering. A man stood off to the side, whispering into his phone, trying to explain to his boss why he might not make it in. A woman kept asking what would happen if an ambulance needed to get through. Someone else said, over and over, that this had to be illegal. Then the sheriff arrived. He didn't come alone. Behind him stood the HOA board, clipboards hugged to their chests, calm smiles on their faces. Not nervous, not unsure. Confident in that dangerous way people get when they believe rules are the same thing as law. They said the bridge was common property. They said it was unsafe. They said fines were already running. $500 per day. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I just held on to the paperwork inside my jacket, the history they never bothered to check. Because this was never about safety. It was about control. And they had just locked themselves into a fight they were never going to win. If you want to hear more true stories like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button to HOA Gone Wild. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? I introduce myself properly. Ethan Caldwell, third-generation steward of a timber parcel tucked deep in Red Hollow Valley, a quiet, forgotten corner of Harrison Ridge County. This land has been in my family for decades, marked by the old bridge that spans the creek and connects the valley to the outside world. That bridge isn't just wood and steel. It's lifeblood. Every mail carrier, every emergency vehicle, every neighbor depends on it. To block it is to cut the valley off entirely. The HOA, Red Hollow Estates Association, came long after the bridge. Their rules are about hedges, paint colors, and mailbox heights, not access to land that predates them. But suddenly they act as though the bridge belongs to them. Brenda Mallory steps into view, the de facto authority. She never needed a title. The board bends to her whims. She speaks in measured tones about safety and liability, the words designed to sound reasonable but function as weapons. She declares the bridge closed, temporarily, as if that word could erase a lifetime of history. That night, the emails begin. First, polite reminders, then formal violation notices. Fines follow, listed in precise increments, each one a little jab. Threats of towing hover over anyone who dares step onto the bridge. The messages carry the calm confidence of someone who knows they are untouchable. Neighbors respond in kind. Some retreat, paralyzed by fear of escalating fines. Others lash out, blaming me for drawing attention, for daring to assert that private history still holds value. Rumors start. Ethan Caldwell is selfish, stirring trouble for everyone. The bridge becomes a line in the sand, and the community is split down the middle. I see the pattern forming. This isn't about a structure, a road, or even the fine print of bylaws. It's about rewriting ownership through fear. It's about turning history on its head and convincing people they have no voice. Intimidation becomes a tool, a weapon of convenience for those who thrive in authority. I begin to document everything. Every email, every threat, every whispered accusation. Each notice is logged with time, date, and context. I photograph the bridge, the locks, the warning signs. The community may be fracturing, but I will not. I realize my fight is larger than myself. It is about preserving truth, property, and the unspoken rights of everyone who depends on that bridge. The tension grows. Brenda escalates without hesitation. Each new message ratchets fear higher. She cites liability again, as though invoking a law can create ownership retroactively. Yet behind the formal language, I detect the panic of someone who has overstepped. Every threat is a confession the bridge is mine, and they know it. At night, I walk the valley. The water murmurs under the bridge, oblivious to emails, fines, and whispers. The bridge is solid. Its timbers bear the weight of generations. I remember my grandfather walking these boards, pointing to the far side, saying, "This is ours. Protect it." I feel that responsibility keenly now. The community watches, hesitates. Some friends edge closer to me, quietly siding with the truth. Others remain wary, swayed by Brenda's calm authority and polished letters. I can feel the silent question in every neighbor's glance: who will win? Intimidation or history? This is the moment the battle lines are drawn, not just in words or emails, but in resolve. I am no longer defending a bridge. I am defending the principle that no one can rewrite ownership with threats and fine print. Every call, every note, every photograph becomes part of a shield. By the first week of the HOA's closure, it's clear this is more than inconvenience. It's an assertion, power through fear. But power is only as strong as those who believe it unquestioningly. And I will not. The bridge remains a symbol of connection, of legacy, of defiance against those who confuse authority with ownership. Even as the tension escalates, I understand something vital. Intimidation is fragile. It collapses under scrutiny, under documentation, under courage. The bridge, silent and steadfast, becomes the heartbeat of the valley's resistance, and I, Ethan Caldwell, am its guardian. This fight has just begun. The emails, the fines, the threats, they may bend some, fracture others, but they will not bend me. History, law, and truth are on my side, and soon everyone will see it. Would you like me to continue part 3 in the same tone and detail, escalating the conflict with Brenda and the HOA? The HOA escalates faster than I expected. By mid-morning, I'm sorting through emails that feel designed to intimidate rather than inform. Fake inspection memos appear, typed on plain letterhead with no engineer names, no county stamps. Nothing that could withstand scrutiny. Each one cites vague, structural concerns, liability issues, and safety violations. Brenda's language is careful, professional, calm. But every word is a knife. She claims the bridge has always been common area, as if repeating it enough makes it true. But there's no record, no deed, no survey, nothing to back the claim. Fines quietly begin stacking. $100 here, $200 there. The amounts are small, almost symbolic, but the accumulation is deliberate. It's a psychological game. Some neighbors start to grumble under their breaths, others side, eye me, unsure if I'm causing the chaos. I feel the pressure mounting, not just from Brenda, but from the whispers in the valley. I try to respond the way I always do, calmly, methodically. I draft emails requesting official records, demanding proof of ownership or legal claim, asking for the deed they're citing. I highlight every inaccuracy, every unsupported statement. Each response is polite, professional, and firm. Every answer from the HOA is a dodge, a repeat of the same vague talking points. Finally, they send me the HOA handbook. That's it. A printed guide about lawn heights and fence colors. No authority over roads, no legal basis to claim the bridge. It hits me in that moment. Brenda and her board aren't experts. They don't actually know what they're doing. They're bluffing. They've weaponized the appearance of authority, hoping no one will question it. And while the bluff might have worked on some neighbors, I see it clearly now. But it's a dangerous bluff. This isn't a game. Real people are affected: children walking to school, elderly neighbors accessing medical care, deliveries delayed, emergency routes blocked. Every misstep carries consequences. Bluffing with people's lives on the line is reckless, and I feel the weight of it sharply. That night, I retreat to the garage, still tense from hours of emails and phone calls. I unlock an old cedar trunk, the The one my grandfather used to keep in the corner, dust-covered and heavy. Inside are decades of documents, carefully preserved deeds, surveys, correspondence, photos of the bridge from its construction, even letters between my grandfather and previous county officials. Every piece is a fragment of truth, a record of history they can't touch. I spread the documents across the workbench. There are surveys from the 1950s showing the bridge as part of our parcel. Deeds clearly marking access rights to the road. Photos of my grandfather walking the boards with neighbors, overseeing repairs, and maintaining it as a shared route for the valley. Every page is proof, irrefutable evidence that the bridge is ours. And that's when I feel the shift. For weeks, the HOA has tried to make the valley doubt history, ownership, and reason. Now I see it differently. The tide is turning. They can bluff all they want, but I have truth on my side, and truth doesn't need a letterhead or a stamp. I start organizing the documents, cataloging them, making copies. Every fine notice, every email, every threat will now have a counterpoint, a record, a history, a paper trail they can't erase. I can almost hear the nervous tension creeping into the HOA's communications already. When the bluff meets proof, the facade begins to crack. By midnight, I feel a sense of calm I haven't had in weeks. The bridge isn't just wood and steel anymore, it's leverage, history, and certainty. And I know what needs to come next. This isn't just about defending a bridge. It's about showing that intimidation has limits, that bluffs crumble under scrutiny, and that those who try to rewrite history without evidence will eventually be exposed. The next day, I begin drafting a detailed timeline of events. I photograph every document, every email thread, every fine notice. I create a file that will be impossible to ignore, impossible to dismiss. Brenda and her board may still wield fear, but now I have clarity, evidence, and resolve. The tide has turned, and this time, the valley isn't watching me stumble. It's about to watch the bluff collapse. If you want, I can continue with part 4 next, where the confrontation with Brenda escalates and the legal and strategic moves begin in full force. I dive into the trunk with a renewed focus, sifting through yellowed papers and brittle folders. The deeper I go, the clearer the story becomes. I uncover the paper trail, each document a nail in the coffin of the HOA's bluff. First, a 1948 warranty deed. It's precise, legal, unassailable. My grandfather's signature, notarized, spelling out ownership with clarity. Next, a 1951 county permit authorizing the bridge's construction. Finally, a recorded map showing the HOA boundary stopping short, definitively, of the bridge. Every line, every stamp, every signature screams ownership, ours, undisputed. Then I see it, a clause my father insisted on adding decades ago. A permissive license, not an easement, not some permanent granting of rights. Just permission, conditional and revocable. The legal power is subtle but absolute. If any third party tries to assert control, it flips. The HOA hasn't just overstepped. They've triggered the kill switch my family built in. It's almost poetic. They've wielded intimidation as authority, but all they've done is walk right into the one mechanism that ensures the bridge remains untouchable. I reach out to Mark Delaney, a property rights attorney with a quiet reputation for dismantling overreaches without theatrics. Mark doesn't lecture. He doesn't shout. He studies, he documents, and he executes. His words echo in my mind. We don't argue. We document. Those words become my mantra. Every email, every fine notice, every vague threat from Brenda and her board will now be countered with careful, traceable documentation. No emotion, no overreach. Just facts filed, certified, undeniable. Certified letters go out that afternoon, each one addressed to the HOA, laying out the ownership, the deeds, the map, and the permissive license. I copy the county offices as a safeguard. Every piece of paper is a legal tripwire. Any attempt by the HOA to act now would trigger scrutiny, legal exposure, and immediate revocation of their false authority. I take a step back and breathe. The bridge, once a symbol of conflict and frustration, becomes a weapon of deterrence. Its timbers, silent under moonlight, now hum with legal power. Every threat the HOA might issue carries new weight, consequences they never anticipated. Neighbors begin to notice subtle shifts. Emails from Brenda start to lose their certainty, the language more cautious, less commanding. The calm authority she wielded so comfortably is now tempered by the invisible hand of law and documentation. The bluff has met its match. I continue organizing everything: scanned copies, chronological folders, detailed notes. Each action I take is deliberate, measured. No theatrics, no chest thumping, just a relentless, quiet certainty that truth and preparation cannot be overcome by fear. By the end of the week, the valley feels different. People walk across the bridge again, hesitantly at first, then with growing confidence. The tension doesn't vanish. There are still whispers inside eyes, but the power dynamic has shifted. The HOA can threaten, but the threat no longer carries weight. I realize something critical in that moment: history, law, and meticulous preparation are shields stronger than intimidation. Brenda's words and fines are noise. My grandfather's foresight, my father's careful additions, and Mark's counsel form the real armor. The turning point isn't dramatic. There are no shouted confrontations, no viral standoffs. It's quiet, methodical, and irreversible. The bridge is mine to protect, not just with nails and beams, but with facts, law, and legacy. And for the first time in weeks, I feel something I hadn't in a long time: control. The HOA can try, they can bluff, they can threaten. But every move they make is now predictable, traceable, and powerless against the legal foundation under my feet. The valley exhales alongside me. The bridge stands, not just as a passage, but as a testament that preparation, clarity, and quiet resolve will always outmatch intimidation. Would you like me to continue with Part 5, where the HOA reacts to the legal pushback and the tension escalates to the first confrontation? The HOA panics faster than I imagined. Emails arrive by the dozen, each more frantic than the last. They announce a special assessment to purchase control of the bridge, a solution that sounds official, but cites the wrong parcel number. The math doesn't add up. The fines double overnight, as if increasing the pressure could rewrite reality. Every word in their announcements reeks of desperation. Meanwhile, I act carefully but decisively. Using the permissive license and my documentation as legal cover, I remove their padlock from the bridge. I don't destroy it, I don't vandalize, I remove the obstruction that never had legal standing to begin with. Then I install a controlled access plan for neighbors. A clear, safe system that protects the bridge and ensures legitimate use while keeping liability concerns in check. Every action is lawful, transparent, and easily documented. The sheriff comes back, this time with less patience. He's seen the emails, the threats, the fines, and now the actual deed and license. Standing on the bridge, he inspects the timbers, looks over the water, and shakes his head. This is private property, he says plainly. No dedication, no HOA interest. Anyone claiming otherwise is out of line. His tone leaves no room for argument. The county road inspector follows up, corroborating the sheriff's assessment. Reports are filed, copies sent to the county office and my files. The message is clear: the bridge is ours, and any attempt to claim it otherwise is baseless. Neighbors start noticing the shift. Quiet conversations over fences, whispered questions at community events. They ask about the fines, about the sudden panic from the HOA, about the legitimacy of the special assessment. Curiosity turns to scrutiny. The bridge, once a source of fear and frustration, becomes a rallying point for clarity and truth. Then, quietly, a former HOA treasurer reaches out. She has concerns about fake vendors, unexplained expenses, and money moving through accounts that shouldn't exist. Her voice is hesitant at first, but she offers documentation, invoices, receipts, and emails that don't add up. Each piece points to mismanagement, sloppy bookkeeping, and deception. Brenda's authority begins to crack. The calm, commanding presence she wielded like armor now shows cracks under the pressure of scrutiny and documented evidence. Her emails are shorter, more guarded. Threats are tempered by uncertainty. The language of confidence is replaced by the language of caution. I continue documenting everything: fines, emails, inspection reports, receipts, and neighbor statements. Each piece strengthens my position. The community watches as the bridge becomes not just a passageway, but a symbol of law, history, and deliberate action triumphing over intimidation. By the end of the week, the dynamic has shifted completely. The HOA can no longer enforce authority through bluff, fear, or paperwork. Neighbors cross the bridge freely, no longer wary of fines or threats. Conversations about governance grow louder, and more residents start asking the difficult questions Brenda doesn't want to answer. The bridge stands firm, as it always has. But now it carries more than people and timber. It carries proof, transparency, and the collapse of false authority. And I know, quietly, that this is only the beginning of the end for Brenda's control. If you want, I can continue with Part 6, where the HOA's attempts at retaliation escalate, and I start leveraging the legal leverage fully. The emergency HOA meeting explodes the moment the doors close. I step forward carrying stacks of documents, neat folders, organized by date, signed, stamped, undeniable. I don't raise my voice. I don't argue. I present facts. One by one, they're laid out: deeds, maps, the permissive license, inspection reports, emails, certified letters. Every page a nail in the coffin of their bluff. Neighbors begin to speak. One after another, they share stories of real harm: missed medication because the bridge was blocked, lost wages from delayed deliveries, an elderly neighbor trapped when a medical transport couldn't reach her home in time. The tension rises with each story. The air becomes thick with frustration and disbelief. Brenda tries to shut it down, waving her hands, speaking in clipped, controlled tones about procedures and governance. She calls the concerns anecdotal, insists we focus on the big picture, but no one listens. Her calm authority is cracking. Then I place the financial records on the table. She freezes as neighbors lean in. Phantom inspections, invoices for non-existent work, expenditures with no board approval. Every penny accounted for, or rather, unaccounted for, and documented. The whispers turn to gasps. The room turns. Eyes that once deferred to Brenda now look at her skeptically, questioning, searching for explanations she cannot give. The stories, the proof, the paper trail, it's undeniable. Her control, built over years of intimidation and carefully curated calm, dissolves in front of everyone. By the end of the night, recall is openly discussed. The room buzzes with strategy, questions, and quiet murmurs of relief. Neighbors who had stayed silent for months are now speaking up. The momentum has shifted entirely. Brenda is no longer untouchable, but the final blow comes when the HOA votes to take legal action against me anyway. They believe the threat of court will scare me, that legal fees, filings, and hearings will force me to back down. They underestimate the depth of preparation, the clarity of documentation, and the resolve behind the bridge. I don't flinch. I don't show fear. They think they've cornered me, but all they've done is step into the arena I prepared for weeks ago. Every certified letter, every map, every historical deed, every county confirmation, it's ready, filed, and waiting. The bluff meets its match in truth, and I am calm in the face of it. Neighbors watch closely, some nodding, some whispering their astonishment. The room has transformed from a chamber of intimidation to a forum of accountability. The documents speak louder than any raised voice, and the energy of the room shifts in real time. Brenda's authority is hollow now, exposed by transparency and fact. I realize, even as the board votes to pursue court, that the real power has shifted. Fear no longer governs the valley. History, law, and meticulous preparation do. They can drag me to court, file papers, and issue threats, but every move will be anticipated, documented, and countered. The bridge stands quietly outside the window, timber strong, a silent witness to the upheaval. It has always been more than a crossing. Now it is a symbol of preparation, of legacy, and of the collapse of false authority when faced with truth. As I gather my documents at the end of the meeting, I see the expressions on neighbors' faces: relief, curiosity, cautious optimism. The fight is far from over, but the momentum has irrevocably shifted. Brenda may try to scare, to intimidate, to manipulate. But courtrooms and lawyers are a language I understand, and this time the bluff cannot survive. This night the tide changes. The HOA may have voted against me, but every threat, every fine, every attempt at intimidation now carries risk. Risk they cannot control, because I am ready. And for the first time in months, I feel a quiet satisfaction. Preparation and truth have won the first battle. If you want, I can continue with Part 7 next, where the legal showdown begins and the HOA's final collapse starts to take shape. The courthouse feels smaller than I expected, but the tension is enormous. The gallery is packed with neighbors, curious onlookers, and a few reporters who caught wind of the conflict. Brenda sits at the HOA table, flanked by her board, papers stacked neatly, confidence radiating, or so it seems. The judge, a calm, deliberate presence, looks over both parties and asks the single question that cuts through every bluff, every threat, every email, every fine. Who owns the bridge? The HOA stands and rattles off rules, bylaws, interpretations of authority, and references to vague policies. They speak quickly, relying on tone and volume rather than facts. Their narrative is polished but hollow. The documents they claim to rely on are absent, misnumbered, or irrelevant. Each sentence feels rehearsed, but when held against reality it crumbles. I step forward and present the evidence: deeds, maps, permits, the permissive license, inspection reports, certified letters, and correspondence with the county. Every document is chronological, organized, and authenticated. I speak calmly, presenting facts, never opinions. The weight of history, law, and careful documentation hangs in the room like a silent verdict before the judge speaks. The judge reviews the files, glances at the HOA board, and then nods. The ruling comes with the precision of inevitability. The HOA is restrained from interfering with the bridge in any way. All fines are voided. Legal fees are shifted entirely to the HOA. Any attempt to impose new rules or restrictions without lawful authority is barred. The gallery exhales. Neighbors murmur quietly among themselves, relief evident in their faces. The bridge, the center of months of intimidation and conflict, stays open, functional, and protected. Every threat, every attempt at coercion has been nullified by facts and law. Brenda's authority collapses in the public record. The ruling is permanent, documented, and clear. She cannot claim control, enforce fines, or dictate access. Her words and emails, once wielded like weapons, are rendered meaningless. The paper trail, meticulous, thorough, undeniable, has triumphed. I watch as the board members shuffle papers, whisper to one another, and leave quietly. The confidence Brenda once radiated has vanished, replaced by stunned silence. The courthouse record now preserves the truth. Power founded on intimidation is weak, but power built on documentation, preparation, and principle is unshakable. The bridge, quiet and steadfast, now stands as a symbol, not just of access, but of accountability. Neighbors can walk across it without fear. Deliveries, medical vehicles, and daily life resume without obstruction. The months of uncertainty, fines, and threats dissolve into a public testament of what careful preparation and truth can accomplish. In that moment, I realize the lesson is simple, but profound. Paper beats power. Not loudly, not with fanfare, quietly. Completely. The bluff, the false authority, the intimidation, all powerless in the face of facts. I gather my documents one last time, tucking copies safely into the cedar trunk. The bridge outside remains unchanged, yet everything about it feels different. It isn't just a crossing anymore, it's a proof of principle. Every plank, every bolt, every historical record tells the story of preparation, persistence, and the ultimate collapse of false authority. Neighbors shake my hand, thanking me quietly. Some glance at the courthouse record, seeing Brenda's collapse in black and white. The valley feels lighter. Order has been restored. Authority has been tested and truth has won. The judge leaves the bench, the gavel down, and the courthouse empties. I step outside into the evening air. The bridge is there, waiting, quiet. I cross it slowly, savoring the moment. Every threat, every fine, every intimidation tactic has been nullified by one thing: meticulous, unwavering preparation. The HOA tried to wield power like a weapon. History, law, and careful documentation wielded themselves back, unstoppable, undeniable, complete. The bridge and everything it represents is safe. And Brenda, along with the false authority she thought she commanded, is recorded forever in public record as powerless against the facts. Quietly, completely, the tide has turned. If you want, I can write Part 8 next, the denouement, with the community settling, Brenda's fall fully realized, and the quiet victory echoing through Red Hollow Valley. The HOA settles quietly, almost reluctantly. Letters arrive in mailboxes over the following days. Written apologies, carefully worded, acknowledging overreach and missteps. Brenda signs hers with a formal tone, no theatrics, no excuses. The words are perfunctory, but they carry weight. The admissions are recorded in official HOA minutes, now rewritten and properly documented. Policies are clarified, bylaws amended. All recorded and filed where they belong. Every future decision is tethered to transparency and legality, leaving no room for arbitrary authority. Board members resign, some quietly slipping away, others lingering just long enough to hand over keys, codes, and records. Their departures are understated but definitive. The power vacuum left in their wake is immediately noticeable. Whispers of fear and intimidation vanish from the valley like smoke. Neighbors begin crossing the bridge again, hesitantly at first, then with growing confidence. Children walk to school unaccompanied. Delivery trucks traverse the boards without worry, and elderly residents regain access to routine medical appointments. The tension that had gripped the valley for months lifts, replaced by a quiet, steady rhythm of daily life. The valley breathes, finally, freely. I continue my routine, walking the bridge at dawn and dusk. Its timbers, worn but sturdy, reflect the sun and moon as they always have. But I stay vigilant. Experience has taught me that authority, especially when unchecked, can resurface. Somewhere upstream, another HOA, another board, may be watching, waiting for a perceived weakness. The cedar trunk remains in my garage, each folder carefully cataloged, scanned, and copied. Deeds, permits, emails, financial records. Every document preserved, every signature logged. I've built a legacy of preparedness that cannot be undone. It's more than paper. It's a safeguard for the valley and every family that depends on this bridge. I meet neighbors occasionally at the edge of the bridge. They smile, exchange greetings, and sometimes remark on the change in atmosphere. "Feels like normal again?" one says. Another nods, noting the absence of fines, threats, and intimidation. But I smile quietly, knowing that normalcy is fragile. It takes vigilance to maintain and truth to enforce. Brenda and her former board fade from daily conversation. The valley no longer fears their authority, but their example serves as a cautionary tale. Power wielded without oversight is dangerous. Power challenged with preparation and clarity is impotent. The lesson has been lived, documented, and now imprinted on the valley itself. At night I sit in my study, reviewing the files one more time. Every email, every deed, every certified letter feels like a shield. The bridge is no longer just a crossing. It's a statement, a symbol of what happens when preparation meets principle. I am reminded of my grandfather, of my father, of the quiet insistence that history and law must be defended, not ignored. The valley is calm, yes, but I remain watchful. Each passing day reinforces a simple truth: authority unchecked is never gone, only dormant. And if another challenge arises, I am ready. The documents are ready. The evidence is ready. The bridge stands, both physically and symbolically, as an unmovable testament to vigilance, history, and the collapse of false power. Neighbors cross without fear. The valley breathes. The bridge endures. And I keep the records close, a quiet, complete, and perpetual safeguard against those who would confuse intimidation with authority. The fight is over, but the lesson remains. True power lies not in threats, fines, or bluster. It lies in preparation, principle, and the meticulous preservation of truth. Quietly, completely, Red Hollow Valley returns to peace. If you like, I can now create a fully polished HOA viral title, hook, and thumbnail concept that perfectly matches this full 8-part story, ready for YouTube. Months later, life in Red Hollow Valley feels calm, almost ordinary. No chains across the bridge. No threatening emails pinging inboxes at all hours. No fines quietly stacking up in the background. The tension that gripped the valley for months has finally lifted. Neighbors walk freely, deliveries run on time, children move safely across the boards. Life has returned to its natural rhythm. This fight taught me something important. Authority is loud. Ownership is quiet. Threats can intimidate. Rules can confuse, but neither can replace documentation, clarity, and legal truth. Rules only have weight where the law allows them to exist. And when someone tries to seize what isn't theirs, the most effective defense isn't anger or confrontation. It's preparation. It's evidence. It's paper. I keep the cedar trunk close, each folder a reminder of what careful stewardship and persistence can achieve. The bridge stands, not just as a crossing, but as a symbol of history, principle, and the collapse of false authority under scrutiny. If this story resonates with you, if you've ever faced an HOA, a board, or anyone who tried to claim power they don't deserve, you're not alone. These battles are winnable with patience, clarity, and documentation. For more true stories like this, hit that subscribe button too. HOA Gone Wild. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? Every neighborhood has its stories, and it's time we share them.